Kako, welcome to our presentation of strategies and resources for Keiki Wellness, presented by Rebecca Choi, Tiana Kamen, and Mary Beth Laychak. My name is Nick Francisco. I'll be your facilitator for today.
And aloha, I am Jennifer Muller, and I will be your moderator for today.
Just a few housekeeping items before we dive in. Please keep your mic muted during presentations to avoid background noises. Use the chat box to ask questions and leave comments. Our presenters will try to answer as many as possible at the end of their presentation. If for some reason you log off, just click back to this workshop link again to rejoin. Lastly, in order to obtain a certificate of participation at the end of our conference, please be sure that your screen name is your legal name, and be sure to complete the overall conference survey at the end of the day. With that said, it is my pleasure to introduce you to our speakers of today's presentation. These three women truly model and exemplify the servant leadership spirit as they are committed to improving Keiki Wellness with their grassroots, community-driven collaborative. Please help me in welcoming Rebecca, Mary Beth, and Tiana to this digital space.
Aloha. Thank you, Nick and Jen, for setting us up. And welcome everybody to our session. It's strategies and resources for Keiki Wellness. I'll be sharing some slides and starting off our presentation. I hope you all had a good lunch. And yeah, thank you for joining us. So my name is Rebecca, and I have a background in various things from finance to business, education, and entrepreneurship. And I, along with Mary Beth and a bunch of us community volunteers, came together to create this Keiki Heroes program. And it's kind of the lens from which we'll be sharing about Keiki Wellness. We'll start off with a quick video that provides an introduction to our program in case you're not familiar with it, and I'll help this set the stage for our conversation today.
It's been kind of hard and scary. Mostly at school, I have to learn how to social distance and not really be close to my friends. Because there's a whole pandemic going around, and I have to go to school and try to do everything different.
For the most part, our Keiki haven't really experienced the physical ailments that our kupuna have. But through this pandemic, what they have experienced is severe isolation, not being able to enjoy their community and friends, not being able to learn normally. And all of these disruptions and real trauma to their childhood is something that we're concerned about. Keiki Heroes is a community empowerment project that's really focused on helping our Keiki adopt healthy practices and staying healthy during the pandemic and build resilience beyond. So a group of volunteers came together looking at how do we support our Keiki through this pandemic. When we started developing some materials, partnering with our artist Yuko and asking her to come up with some drawings that'll help root our story. The story of Kai and Hoku experiencing the pandemic and what they feel and how they choose to be Keiki Heroes through it. And all the materials and information that we share is really rooted on the science and the latest information. We also developed a series of videos, the Keiki videos, where we're giving voice to our Keiki to be able to ask the questions that they're really curious about.
Hi, I'm Jace, and this is my brother Bo. My question is, how do we make distance learning more fun? If everyone is already wearing a mask, how come I have to wear a mask?
When can I see my cousins again?
When do you think COVID's gonna end?
We're all trying to do the same thing here. We're trying to help our community stay safe, keep the COVID counts down so that we can be more resilient as a community together. We also have a fun community music video.
I take care of my community by taking care of myself. I take care of my community by
one of the things that we're really aware of is different people access information differently. And for those purposes, we do a wide range of ways to get materials into our community. We also think in terms of access that not everybody is comfortable with English. And so we're very concerned for communities that they may need materials in their own language to be able to internalize and for Keiki to feel like this is really for them. So we have translated our activity books into 14 different languages. Some of our earliest supporters are Waikoloa Foundation. We also had County of Hawaii and Vibrant Hawaii as partners, both in funding and in terms of getting the message out to our community.
The Keiki Heroes project really elevated the opportunity for Keiki not to just be recipients of information, but to be change agents in our community.
Aloha, ka pi'iana ia ko'oino. I'm Kana'i, and this is my sister, Kayla.
I think it's good for kids to learn how to protect their community and their ohana when it's like, it's not just like your parents, it's like you too, it's everybody. And so you have to do your part in trying not to spread it. The messages in the book helps kids like with their like thinking about the good things and what you can do to help it instead of thinking about the bad things about it.
Our Keiki who are going through this pandemic, even though it is really hard and challenging for them, that through it, they will be the best prepared leaders of tomorrow because they're not victims, they're actually heroes.
All right, let me pull back our presentation and ask Mary Beth to take it on from here.
Great. Well, mahalo, Rebecca. Thank you so much for the introduction and the opportunity to speak today. So my day job, in addition to working with Keiki Heroes, is I work with the Canada, France, Hawaii Telescope. And so I've been working with Rebecca as part of the Keiki Heroes program since day one. And what we decided in summer of 2020, when we were working on this project, is that we noticed that there are a lot of materials that were designed to talk to kids, to talk at kids, but none that were designed for kids. And so with everything that was going on, we wanted to empower Keiki. We wanted to speak to them at their level where they were at. We didn't want to talk down to them. And we were really worried about all of the physical and the socio-emotional health aspects that this pandemic was bringing to kids. And so that's the sort of where we've grounded Keiki Heroes. When we create new materials, when we look at where we're going, everything is done through the lens of Keiki empowerment, of meeting Keiki where they're at, not speaking down to them, making sure that we have the diversity of options, whether that is digital versus printed, and really looking out and making sure that we're trying to hit the underrepresented community members that are often sort of not seen or not met. And so that was the reason for our translation efforts. And so with that, that's where we've grounded everything and empowerment for Keiki. Next slide, please, Rebecca. So our resources really run the gamut. We have ones that are in the home. And so a good example of that was we knew that there were going to be economic challenges last Christmas, and we didn't want Keiki to feel that and feel like there was nothing they could do about it. So we created a coupon book that they could print out, they could color, they could fill in and gift to family members as Christmas presents with something like, a coupon for a hug. And so those are the kind of craft resources and additional other resources that we have for parents. We also have a lot of videos and resources that give parents the information that we know they are interested in. We work with parents. We also have a lot of parents on our team who are asking questions, and then we try to answer that through Keiki Heroes. Similarly, educator resources. We have a whole back to school booklet that we've developed. We've got a back to school comic and storyline. We've got, as you saw, Rebecca putting down the big decals, our Respect the Bubble decals, stickers. All of these are really meant for teachers and educators to be able to take these materials and apply them directly in their classroom. Word searches, crossword puzzles that reinforce and again, meet kids where they are. Similarly, for healthcare settings, I actually just delivered 100 of one of our new materials to the Hamakua Health Center that's here in Waimea where I live, for them to be able to pass out to Keiki whose parents come in or if they come in for testing. Rebecca?
Okay. All right, thanks for the background, Mary Beth. So today's conversation, we're talking about wellness and Keiki wellness specifically. So we just wanted to look at what does that really mean? This is from the World Health Organization, and they define health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So we like this definition that really emphasizes our wholeness. And that is actually the normal, that, being healthy, being well, being whole is our normal. And there are barriers to that. There are challenges or things that happen that affect our wellness and health, but that through some of our strategies and resources and tools that maybe we can all learn to help Keiki reinforce health and wellness. So in this cover here that says, "Let's stay healthy together," is actually the cover from the book that Mary Beth just mentioned that we have. And it's actually, just to let everybody know, Jen Muller will be sharing a link to the resource folder that we've developed for this session. So it'll contain a lot of the materials and downloadables, and you can print them and use them widely, resources that we have developed through our program, including the book we just mentioned, as well as a page with various links to websites and other resources that we are sharing with you. So in terms of wellness, you can cut it in lots of different ways, but today we're taking kind of a four different perspectives that are very interrelated. So the first part will be talking about our physical health, the body piece that Mary Beth will be sharing on. And then the second piece, we're so excited to have Tiana here with us. And Tiana is the author and founder of Farm to Keiki, and she'll introduce herself more fully. She's from Kauai, but we've recently had the opportunity to partner with Tiana around Keiki nutrition and nourishment. So she'll be sharing with us on that health aspect. And then I'll be doing a little bit around mind. We call it mental health or social emotional health, and then about our spirit, our connectedness. So that's kind of how we've designed the presentation today. All right, Mary Beth, off to you.
And so I'm physical health, and there's a little bit of irony in that, because I think that we've all during the pandemic kind of forgotten a little bit about our own physical health as the total package of health. So physical health is actually, Rebecca, can you go back a slide? I think this is my second one. What is it? Yeah, so what is physical health? When we think of physical health, I think we've all kind of let a little bit of that go by the wayside. I know I have during the pandemic. We've really been focusing on good hygiene. And that's where we started with Keiki Heroes. We started rooting it in this idea of be a hero, wear your mask, social distance, wash your hands. And one of the things that we really wanted to emphasize in washing your hands in particular is when to wash your hands. We didn't want, and Rebecca will touch on this with the social emotional aspects, we didn't want to send Keiki down a tailspin where they're constantly washing their hands. We wanted them to learn when to wash their hands appropriately. So a lot of our materials at first really focused on that good hygiene aspect of it. Tiana is going to talk about eating well. One of the things that we focused on with physical activity is getting out, getting moving. And I'll talk more about the need for that and the need for sleep as well. Rebecca's going to mention more about relaxation and that social, emotional health aspect as well. So physical health is all day. Getting little bits of activity add up, walking, keiki dance parties, stretching. And so on our social media, using Keiki Heroes as a case study of how we do all of these things, our social media often promotes things like Happy National Walking Day, where you see Kai and Hoku in their capes there. We also have some activities that really focus on movement and getting people up and moving and excited. It's super important to get enough sleep. And this is something that we often forget. So, I looked up this morning from the CDC, how much sleep do our keiki actually need? And those that are 3 to 5 need 10 to 13 hours of sleep. School-aged kids, 9 to 12, teenagers, 8 to 10. And I didn't put it on the slide, but us adults need 7 hours plus. And so that's something else that we want to think about. Establishing a good, healthy routine. Routine is something that is so important. I know myself, if my evening or morning routine gets out of sync, I'm out of sync for the rest of the day. And so the whole picture of keiki wellness includes helping them establish a routine of getting up and moving, even 10 minutes here or there, washing their hands, eating healthy, and sleeping. And we really want with Keiki Heroes to always come back to the basics. How do we remember and remind our kids to be heroes? Next slide, please, Rebecca. So those are our resources. So we encourage kids and parents and any adult to take the Keiki Heroes pledge, wearing my mask, washing my hands, respecting the bubble. When we started respecting the bubble, we were referring to, your personal space or your family. Now that's kind of gotten to, our community and our family bubbles. I have friends that I refer to as my bubble friends, and it's really important for our keiki to understand that what we do not only impacts us, but our larger family. And we saw that with one of the keikis in the video. And lastly, be kind and be compassionate. From the beginning, we wanted to instill in keiki with Kai and Hoku, our 2 kids, that, you don't know what's going on in other places. You don't know how people's feelings are. Now, another activity that we have is our movement and active listening. It's actually an activity of video that you can look at on our website that gets kids moving and teaches them how to listen actively. Okay, Rebecca. Or Tiana.
Okay, great. Aloha mai kākou. My name is Tiana Kamen. I'm from the island of Kauai. Very grateful to be here with all of you today. I'm a nutritionist, and I'm also a farm-to-table educator and an environmental educator. This is my book, if you've seen it. Oh, can't see it with my background. Farm to Keiki. So I often teach early childhood educators throughout the state on cooking, gardening, nutrition, getting healthier foods into the schools. So I'm going to talk about nutrition as part of our keiki wellness. Now, nutrition is a huge subject because we eat 3 to 5 times every day, right? And each of those meals has different ingredients that has different nutrients that affects your health. Some will benefit your health and some do not. So I kind of like to start on this why is it important piece, because often what we're seeing now is there's a lot more processed foods and packaged foods in our lives. We import about 90% of foods to Hawaii, and a lot of them are in little plastic packages. That being said, these processed foods are affecting our health greatly, and they're causing diet-related diseases in children as young as 3 years old. This is a big issue that we don't talk about a lot. What are those diet-related diseases? Obesity and overweight, heart disease, diabetes, cancers, they all add up. Now, the problem is that obesity is starting before children get to kindergarten. And that is what this map is here, because there's research backing this up. And that's why I'm doing the work I do and trying to inspire all of you to really focus on nutrition. So here this is in 2002, 2003. there was a group that did a study of kindergartners entering kindergarten in Hawaii. They studied their BMI, so that's your body mass index, it's your waist and your weight. And they found that 1 out of every 3 children was obese or overweight before they entered kindergarten, so before they were 5. It's just not, they don't even have a chance here. So what this map is the lime green are children who were 20 to 30% of the children in these areas were obese or overweight before kindergarten. And the orange is if 30 to 40% are overweight or obese. So that means a little more than 1 out of every 3 children was obese or overweight before they entered kindergarten. Now, in some of the other islands, if you want to go to this research paper, you can see that there are many little pockets throughout Hawaii that won't even show here that they are in the red. So 1 out of every 2 children are obese or overweight. And most of those children they found were of Pacific Islander or Native Hawaiian descent. So it's really important we pay attention to this. And it is important that we do something about it. So this next picture on the right is in 2000. Oh, you can go back to the slide before. Yes, so the picture on the right, you can see the colors change. There's more green. We started to do a lot more nutrition education projects in Hawaii. And so these statistics changed. Our children were entering kindergarten with healthier body mass indexes. Very cool. You know, the problem here is that children, this is the first generation, children are living shorter lives than their parents. So let's go to the next slide and see how we can change that statistic. All right, so let's talk about nutrition health. What is nutrition? I really love the definition of actually nourishment. So first, nourishment is to nurture or to rear, to take care of lovingly. 2, to promote the growth of something, to nourish even your spirit. 3, to sustain with nutriment, so nutrients, feeding. Or 4, maintaining or supporting. So like plants are nourished by the rain, people are nourished with food. Next one, please. So nutrition health, here's our 4 strategies we're going to talk about today. Nutrients, so the actual nutrients that are in the food. Education, nutrition education. Aina, connection to the earth, and our spirit and culture. So strategy number 1, let's talk about the nutrients. What foods are we eating? And I know you'll find on the internet and everyone you talk to has an opinion on do the paleo or do the keto diet. There's all these different ideas, but really it's important to focus on whole foods. So I'm going to introduce you here to the Farm to Keiki plate. Now you have these slides, I believe, and so you'll be able to access this plate later. It's a really simple way to strategize how you can make your plates so that they are the healthiest possible for children. Now this plate is all based on whole foods. What is a whole foods? So here's an example. On the left of this slide, I'm making some laulau, and inside the ingredients, there's cut kalo, there's cut sweet potatoes, there's some shiitake mushrooms, some stems of the kalo, some kalo leaves, the lau. Those are all whole foods because they resemble the plant that it grew on as closely as possible, or the animal that it's from. They haven't been processed or put through a factory or anything. Now, processed foods, let's look below that. A processed food is something like this taro bread. It has a little bit of taro, but it's mostly made of white or wheat flour. And that white flour has been processed, highly processed in a factory, often bleached, often stripped of all the nutrients. So the quality of the foods we eat is really important because we are what we eat. So we focus on whole foods for our children. If we look at that plate, let's see what that means. The green here on the bottom is whole veggies. Half of your child's plate should be all whole veggies. Rainbows of colors, herbs, seaweed even. Then on the left, the red here, a quarter of it should be a healthy protein. That could be plant-based like tofu or an animal-based like chicken. On the right here, we have our complex carbohydrates. So those are things like whole grains, such as brown rice, or legumes like beans, or starchy veggies. That could be pumpkin. In the middle here, you always have a nice dollop of healthy fat. I know there's been decades of people thinking fat is bad. Well, some fats are bad, like when you're frying French fries, that's not good for your heart. But when you have coconut oil and seeds, macadamia nuts, all olive oil, those are really good and protective of our hearts. So we need a little bit of that because it gives us long-lasting energy. On the side here, we have whole fruits. Now, fruits are the best desserts and sides of snacks. And then I love to add this little fermented food here on the side. The fermented foods are like kimchi or yogurt. They're filled with beneficial bacteria. Our bodies have a lot of bacteria on it. It's what helps us keep us going. And about 70% of your immune system is actually in your gut. So we really need these fermented foods because it gives us the healthy bacteria, and we need these healthy whole foods because it boosts our immune system. The number one thing you can do to help to prevent very bad illness with COVID or anything else is eating healthy whole foods because it strengthens the immune system in your gut. And of course, on the side, our kids should not be drinking soda and heavily sugar added drinks. They should be drinking water with and between meals. Now, the last thing is that this should be happening daily for every meal as much as possible. I know we're all human, but as much as possible, and it should be personalized to your child. So for instance, I'm lactose intolerant. When I was a kid, I would eat, anything at friends' houses and at school, and it had cheese and milk, and I would get really sick, but I would never say anything. It's important to have these discussions with your kids, observe them, because one size does not fit all with nutrition. It should be personalized. Okay, and get off my soapbox and let's go to the next strategy. So our next strategy is nutrition education. I love this part. This is what I focus my career on, is meeting the plants to eat the plants. I really believe a lot of people have trouble with their kids eating things, but that's because they've never experienced them and experienced them in fun ways, being served by people they love. So encourage your families to learn about foods in hands-on ways. You could do things like taste tests, taste a new food every day, just a little bit to get used to tasting new foods. It's something that provides safety, and it's an activity that is part of their lives. Next, cooking. A lot of us don't cook anymore. We rely on microwaving foods or fast foods. Cooking, when we smell the food, it bursts out in our digestive enzymes, and it's what helps us to digest. We need to smell the foods. It's a connection. But then also include the children in the cooking process. They could either watch you or they can cook with you. And once they have their hand in something, they'll be much more likely to eat it. The next is include children in shopping or foraging. Maybe there's some coconuts on the side of the street, some mangoes, that's foraging, or shopping, and decide maybe going to a farmer's market or a farm, somewhere where there's really good quality local food supporting our local farmers. So this is about experiencing Aina Momona, the fat of the land. Let's go to the next slide here. So the next strategy is Aina. Connecting to the earth is so important. And I think we have a lot of amazing examples here in Hawaii, but still many children never get the opportunity to grow food, to connect that food comes from the earth, what it looks like. So one of the best strategies, I believe, is to grow a garden. That could be a pot in your yard, or it can be a whole big lo'i. So grow just maybe a mint plant in a pot in your kitchen, and then start from there. Because when children grow plants and food, it connects children to the source of their food, and they learn how to grow and eat from a garden so they can feel sustained. They participate in making Aina Momona, participate in making the fat of the land. And there's more nutrients because it's the freshest food you could get. So what we're doing is we're creating locavores, aipono, children who eat right because the food is locally sourced. We're eating whole foods, and they're building these taste preferences for something that's local. One last part, I'll put my environmental educator hat, is we really need to consider the environmental impact of our food. Not only does the way the foods are produced impacting our environment where we live, but also somewhere else. We are one world, one island, and we really need to pay attention more to how our food is created. And that's why I like to promote local foods, sustainably grown, organic foods, because they'll be better for the earth in the long run, the earth your children are going to adopt. Our last strategy is spirit and culture. So spirit and culture, this is about fun and learning together as a family. We're learning about new foods. Maybe you don't like to eat a lot of veggies either, and that's okay. We can learn together, get healthier together. And I love, I'm really into traveling, so I love different foods from different cultures. What is your family's culture? What are the old recipes that you can share with your children? Make sure they know how to cook those and they can share them with others. A big part about this is self-expression. And mindful eating, being mindful of what you're eating, having the children think, what am I eating? Is this good for my body? It feels really good to just connect and check in. We don't often take the time to think about that. And lastly, connection to others. Food is a way to bring together people. We all know this. It's difficult during COVID, but it's a time at least your family can come together and share something really special. So the whole goal of my work is to adopt something like Farm to Keiki into a culture of a home, school, or community. So I'll give you some resources to do that. So this is the book that I wrote. Farm to Keiki will provide the website link. And it has been given to a lot of preschools around the state. So hopefully your kids are learning from it, from their teachers. There's also a parent version. Ohana can use it too. There's a lot of recipes. There's a Meet the Plants page, so you can get into activities and learning about different foods. And there's even lessons if you really want to get into more homeschool action. Our next resource is the collaboration I did with Keiki Heroes. Very excited about this project. It has not been released yet, but if you go on my website and sign in for the mailing list, I will let you know when it is released. You'll be able to download this booklet. Really fun ways to engage with your children for cooking and doing activities with different foods in Hawaii. It was also sponsored by the Hawaii Food Basket on Hawaii Island. So we're very excited about these booklets. And then our last resource, this was our other partner in the program, was Hawaii Food Bank. They were promoting the bucks. So I am a firm believer that every child should have access to nutritious foods, no matter who you are, what color you are, and where you come from. And this is a very cool program. I think we have about a year left of it. If your children have SNAP or EBT, you get locally grown fresh fruits and vegetables half off. So very excited program that I hope if you're eligible, you take advantage of or share that information with someone else. So that's a wrap for our nutrition. Thank you.
Thanks, Tiana. Yeah, and this is a really fun collaboration that expands our work, Keiki Heroes, into more holistic health efforts beyond the pandemic. And my topic at hand is looking at our mental health, the mind. And we all know that the mind and the body are very connected too. So all the things Mary Beth talked about, like sleeping and activity and moving our bodies, also affect our brains and our mind and vice versa. So we just wanted to look at what the definition for mental health would be, and it includes emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects the way we think, the way we feel and act. And it also helps determine how we handle stress and relate to other people and make healthy choices. So for Keiki Heroes, we were very concerned about our Keiki mental health at the beginning of the pandemic. And this is something, obviously that we're all experiencing to some degree, right? We're all feeling the stress. We're all feeling the isolation, not being able to do our normal social activities. And it affects us because we're human. And having those kinds of interaction is really part of our human experience. So we're trying to bring the awareness around, yes, it's important that we are safe physically, but that's not enough. We have to also be mindful of all the ways that this pandemic is affecting us and support one another, and especially our youngest ones through it. And I just picked this picture because, our brains don't really know sometimes what is real or unreal. So if we imagine something, then actually it's real for us. Just like if we choose to believe something, that becomes our reality. So I just thought, oh, pretty cool. Like imagine going out to catch a surf, the ocean there. And already kind of, if you just let your mind sink into that, your body sort of relaxes already into that feeling. So I think it was just kind of an opportunity for us to kind of experience it. Yes. And that's my 4-year-old in the background who is chiming in. So you might see or hear from her from time to time. And here are some strategies that we thought about for supporting our keiki. First of all, in supporting our keiki, I think number one is just remembering that we have to take care of ourselves first. And Mary Beth mentioned this as well, but it's really important as caretakers, as educators, as parents, that we check in with ourselves and understand, like, how are we doing physically? Am I getting enough sleep? How am I handling the stress? And am I doing what I need for myself? And, I think there's a flourishing of a genre of self-care therapies and methodologies. And to Tiana's point of nutrition, but it's also individualized. We all need different things. For some of us, spending a lot of time with other people and talking gives us energy. For other folks, that's really draining. So understanding what we need and how to get that to also be able to support our children. And some of the things I wanted to highlight was, so you see here on the left, Kai and his dad working in the Loi and planting and growing things. And our connection to Aina, our connection to the land is so critical for our emotional and mental well-being and our physical well-being, especially as it comes to nutrition as well. But just being able to spend some time outside, right? Even if we can just go outside and look at the birds or a plant with our kids, I think that allows us to take our minds and our keiki's minds off of whatever might be at hand and to be able to focus on something like how are we feeling and how are we doing right now. The other part here in the middle is about creating something, whether it's drawing or writing or Play-Doh or crayons or chalk, we are creative beings as humans. So just exploring the creative space with our keiki. And then the last one I love is we kind of drew this out of one of our campaigns of what is your superpower? And this one is a superpower of laughing. And I truly believe it's a superpower because, if you've had a really good laugh recently, how it just tends to release a lot of things out of our system and resets us. And it also connects us when we can laugh together. So if you know of a great joke, throw it in the chat so we can all laugh together. But those are some of the strategies that we wanted to highlight. And then in terms of resources, this will also be in the resource folder that Jen put in the link. We have a superpower art adventure that we've designed with local artists in Hawaii. And we were really mindful of how do we allow keiki to access ways to express themselves. And so we have videos that range from drawing emoji eyes to drawing expressive eyes and looking at someone's eyes to understand what the emotion behind that is, to the movement piece that Mary Beth highlighted, to even singing and writing your own lyrics to a song that and miming. So there's a lot of range of opportunities there to explore with your keiki and explore some arts, as we know that that's a healing mode of expression. And it's just fun and it helps lift our souls. And then the other part we wanted to highlight is we developed a lei activity where you can cut out flower leis and create one. And we wanted to really encourage the practice of gratitude. because it's really scientifically based that the more that we focus our mind on the positive things, the things that we can be grateful for, even when we are under stress or even when we are facing challenges, it builds our resilience. So in this time, we can still talk to our keiki and encourage and have conversations together about the things that we're grateful for, things that we can share, and encourage them to express gratitude. And then at this point, I just wanted to pause and just kind of also encourage some all of y'all to participate. This is kind of an interesting question. Well, what is spiritual health? And what would be your answer to that? If you don't mind, just put something in chat. I don't think there are any wrong answers to this. Or maybe that's a really hard question. But we'd love to hear your answers if you are willing to share what your definition of spiritual health is. Yeah, thank you for folks for putting in chat. And I think with this point, you know, we just really wanted to highlight that there are things that are also unseen that are so important for us. Exactly, like the connections and sort of to take a bigger kind of, you know, instead of looking at things with a microscope, to take a bigger kind of frame out to look at how everything affects us, right? And when I think of spiritual health, you know, I definitely naturally go to the connectedness to the land, connectedness to each other, especially when it comes to when we think about breath and breathing. So if my slides will work, this next slide I think is really cool. Okay, here. It kind of is like, I don't know how they did this, but someone created a you know, a forest with that looked like lungs. I had heard this one time that half of our breathing system is actually outside of our bodies. You know, the oxygen that we breathe in is created by nature, by Aina, and the carbon dioxide we breathe out is consumed by those the very same oxygen producing trees and plants. And actually in Latin, the word spirit means breath. And so for me, it really comes down to, if I can remember when I'm breathing, where does my breath come from? Where does it come from? What's the source of it? And where does it go to? And who do I breathe with? Who do I share my breath with? And I think this is also very much rooted in a lot of Hawaiian culture, right? In the ha, and understanding that there is the unseen realm that is so much bigger than any one of us, and that we're all connected. And I think in some ways it also provides, to me, a level of hope and inspiration and trust in thinking that, oh, okay, it's not just all up to me. I don't have to figure it all out. It's that we're all connected. We're all having a human experience together, and we can share in that humanity. And there are also higher powers, keakua, and spirit that we cannot see, but that is operating in this place. So that was really an exercise, just because helping us, you know, take a step back to look at how all the pieces, our body, our nutrition, our mind, all of these pieces are connected with the unseen as well. And some strategies here might be, I don't know, maybe these are things you already do, or things you hadn't thought about doing, but things like singing. I love that tutu singing, and singing just kind of elevates. I don't know if you listen to really good music and it just takes you to some other place. Singing really connects us. They say that when you sing together, your hearts start to beat together, actually, or when you are chanting together. So there is something really magical about that. Eating, is very physical. It's very normal, but it's also what connects all of us, right? As humans, we have to eat and sustain ourselves, and playing. Swimming for me is a big one. Being in the ocean is a real spiritual experience when I get to see, wow, how big this ocean is. And I'm just like a little thing floating in it. And it sustains me. And praying, folks, also journal, meditate, practice gratitude and service. And I just wanted to leave it with that one of the key strategies for us, I think, is also encouraging our keiki to think outside of ourselves, to see how we can serve other people and how we can help others in that connectedness that we share. And the last thing I want to do is play this song that we can sing along to. And you heard a little bit of it before, so please sing along. All right, and I think we're wrapping up.
Oh, no, mahalo, Rebecca, for sharing, and Mary Beth and Tiana. We're just so thankful for sharing such a wonderful presentation, and we just want to mahalo you guys so much for all of the work you do, giving from the bottom of your hearts and trying to really improve the well-being of all of our keiki here in Hawaii. So mahalo for all that you do and for sharing your time with us today. To our attendees,